there, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube. Gavcrimson here again, broadcasting to you from Manchester, which coincidentally also happens to be the setting of the film I want to talk about today, and the birthplace of its leading man. Yes, we're talking 1988's The Eye of Satan, starring, written and produced by Mr. GBH himself, Cliff Twemlow. Cliff Twemlow was a true working class Renaissance man whose initial calling in life was as a nightclub doorman. He then tried his hand at composing songs for the library music company DeWolf under the name Peter Reno. Around 1980, Twemlow turned his hand to writing and documented his life and career up until that point in the autobiography Tuxedo Warrior, which is mostly about his nightclub doorman days. The book is also known as Tuxedo Warrior, Tales of a Mancunian Bouncer. Tuxedo Warrior led to Twemlow writing horror fiction in the then lucrative market of paperback books about killer animals. His book, The Pike, is about a giant pike terrorising Lake Windermere, whilst in The Beast of Cain, a satanic elk hound runs amok in rural Canada. Twemlow also began to get involved in filmmaking, his most famous foray into which remains 1983's GBH, a low-budget shot-on-video action movie in which Tremeloes plays a former bouncer who gets lured back into the violent world of Manchester's nightclub scene, a role Tremeloes unquestionably had the life experiences to play. Although Tremeloes had dabbled in horror in his writing career, for a time it seemed he was destined never to be able to get the chance to work the genre into his film career. He'd written a script called The Dogs of Cain, which he tried to pitch to Hammer Films in the late 1970s, but that, and attempts to get film adaptations of his two novels off the ground, had come to nothing. Fortunately, towards the end of the 1980s, Tremeloes finally got the chance to make a pair of films that combined horror themes with his own low-budget action film formula: Moonstalker, made in 1986, and The Eye of Satan from 1988. Now, whether it's meant to be a direct connection between Moonstalker and The Eye of Satan is, let's say, up for debate. The two films were helmed by two different directors. They were shot on two different formats. Moonstalker was, unusually for a Tremeloes vehicle, shot on film, whereas The Eye of Satan was shot on video. The two films share a couple of cast members who play completely different roles in the two films. That said, The Eye of Satan does open itself up to interpretation as a sort of sequel to Moonstalker, by virtue of the fact that Tremeloes plays a mercenary called Cain in both films. Are these meant to be the same character? Well, they certainly share the same name and occupation, but they do have their differences too. The Cain in Moonstalker is just your average tough guy, whereas the Cain in The Eye of Satan has supernatural powers, is a disciple of Satan, and is frequently seen in the company of a Black Panther, which seems to be his familiar. So if these two characters are one and the same, then certainly a lot has gone on in between these two films. Who knows, maybe the Cain in Moonstalker and the Cain in The Eye of Satan are actually long lost twin brothers, or maybe they're related to the Cain sisters from Blonde Ambition. You certainly don't have to have seen Moonstalker in order to watch The Eye of Satan. If anything, it's less confusing if you haven't seen the earlier film, since The Eye of Satan completely reinvents his character. Either way, Tremeloes gives this character one of the greatest introductions possible in The Eye of Satan, when Cain bursts into a church, knocks a priest out with a gun, shoots a coffin full of bullet holes, then demands the father of the deceased pay him money that the dead man owes him. If ever there was a scene that immediately establishes a character's badass credentials, this is it.
What's the meaning of this ungodly act? Only the devil. You must be mad. How dare you? No!
The Eye of Satan is, like GBH before it, low on budget, shot on video, but clearly made with a lot of heart and personality behind it. The fact that you find the same people turning up in these films time after time speaks volumes about the spirit of camaraderie that these films were born out of. The Eye of Satan is a rather more ambitious affair than GBH. There's a sense of growing confidence in the people in front of and behind the camera, with more time spent on developing characters and plot than in early Tremeloes movies like GBH and Target Eve Island. In fact, there is quite a lot of plot in the Eye of Satan, one that brings together our satanic mercenary hero, his Black Panther sidekick, a voodoo cult, a pair of detectives, duck hunters, gangster brothers, a Middle Eastern arms dealer, and pretty much everything but the kitchen sink.
Who are you?
The earlier part of the film tends to be focused around Christine, the promiscuous daughter of a gangster who has been having an affair with her father's arch enemy, the Middle Eastern arms dealer Camille Mohammed. However, the romance goes sour when Christine's father double-crosses Camille over an arms deal, and Camille holds Christine hostage and demands arms and money from her father. When Christine somehow manages to escape from Camille and his heavies, her father decides she is in need of protection and hires Kane as a sort of bodyguard for her. Kane himself has been attracting the attention of the Manchester police due to his frequent habit of killing people, including several gangsters and a pair of duck hunters who he offs just as they're about to start blowing away ducks, resulting in the rather inspired quip from the coroner that the killer was obviously a lover of animals and the two corpses didn't share his views or principles. On Kane's case are a pair of detectives played by Brett Paul, or Brett Sinclair as he was known in GBH, and comedy impressionist turned actor Maxton G. Beasley. There's also the small matter of the Eye of Satan itself, a powerful red stone said to grant its owner immortality that Twem-a-low regular Steve Powell has stolen from a voodoo cult in South Africa. So pretty much everyone is either after stolen arms, Christine or the Eye of Satan, and all are on a collision course with Kane, a man determined to serve Satan, achieve immortality, and make the world a safer place for ducks.
You find some notes of the text, but there are still some areas I'm having difficulty with. Show me the text. You're not Jace. You're the devil, yes, my friend. The force of evil.
With his glowing green eyes, supernatural powers, and satanic allegiance, Kane is certainly an unorthodox movie hero, and does things that in just about every other film would definitely categorise you as the villain of the piece. He does after all enter the film by knocking out a priest with the butt of a gun, and the priest bashing continues throughout the film. The Eye of Satan is certainly unafraid to go against horror genre conventions. Usually in horror movies, if you lay siege to churches and murder their priests, like the ghost pirates in The Fog, or the title character in Rawhead Rex, you don't otherwise get to be the hero of the piece. Old Rawhead Rex would probably be the good guy in this film. Something you pick up on from reading Twemlow's autobiography was that Twemlow was a non-believer, which he states quite passionately on several occasions. He writes, "When people speak to me of divine presence, God's will and all that crap, I feel like vomiting. How intelligent people can believe such infantile hogwash is beyond my comprehension." There's also a rather amusing bit about Christmas where he writes, "While a minority dwell on the divinity of Christmas, the majority, myself included, exercise their own overindulgence in a demonstration of overeating and drinking, party congregating and fornicating campaign, furnishing brewery tycoons with immense profits, leaving ourselves with a communal hangover and a slimmer bank balance." Well, we can all relate to that, can't we? His forays into horror, therefore, do offer up an atheistic spin on the genre, which you find in both The Eye of Satan and in his Dogs of Cain book. While I don't think Twemlow had a massive axe to grind against religion, The Eye of Satan certainly does have the automatic allegiance to religion and the church that you find in the more traditional aspects of the horror genre. Christianity here is depicted as weak, ineffectual, and cowardly, and Kane is about as far removed from your crucifix-wielding heroes of Hammer horror films as you possibly can get. For my money, The Eye of Satan is at its most entertaining, and certainly at its funniest, when it throws together Kane and Christine. She is a spoilt, poor little rich girl, he is a grumpy disciple of Satan, and hilarity ensues as The Eye of Satan tiptoes into that very 1980s of action film subgenre that brought together tough guys with hugely obnoxious female characters who gradually become a bit more likeable as the film progresses. Two Charles Bronson vehicles from this period, Assassination and Murphy's Law, are perfect examples of this. Christine's acid-tongue put-downs are a wonderfully funny contrast to Kane's unflappable seriousness. Kane likes to give long, grandiose speeches about how he comes from a world too incomprehensible for mere mortals to understand, a land that lies beneath the cloak of unending darkness, to which Christine bluntly responds by remarking, "Bullshit," followed by a series of below-the-belt insults.
You don't like me, do you?
No.
Despite also being the film's writer and producer, Twemlow does generously allow the rest of the cast their fair share of the spotlight, from Brett Paul and Maxton G. Beasley, who have their own little double act going on as the two battle detectives, to Steve Powell, who gets an action scene all to himself, in which he takes out an entire voodoo cult who are in the process of sacrificing a topless woman. The standout performance here, though, is John St. Ryan as arms dealer Camille. St. Ryan was no stranger to Tremeloes films, lest we forget he was Big Nick Rafferty in GBH, made an even greater impact as the Russian villain of Target Eve Island, and was recalled here to do more of the same, albeit with a different foreign accent. Camille is very much Kane's equal in terms of physical stature and intelligence, and a chilling, intimidating character who really gets under your skin with his unsuppressed disgust at the decadent West, and the lack of principles, patriotism and loyalty he finds amongst the other characters in this film, like the pair of gangster brothers who are happy to sell each other out, as well as their fellow countrymen, by selling arms to a foreign enemy like Camille. With the greatest respect to everyone else involved in this film, you can really tell that it was John St. Ryan who was destined for a substantial career outside of the Tremeloes films. A career that has included stints in American TV series like Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Murder, She Wrote, a stint as Sean Connery's stunt double, and he even got to reprise his Russian tough guy shtick in such fringe Hollywood fare as Delta Force 3: The Killing Game. In retrospect, Twem-a-low films do seem a little ahead of their time, especially taking into consideration how much British horror and British gangster films have enjoyed a huge renaissance in recent years, thanks to the direct-to-DVD and video-on-demand markets opening up new avenues for these two genres. I do only wish that Tremeloes films were as readily available as their modern-day direct-to-DVD equivalents. With the exception of GBH, his films are pretty tricky to see these days, and even in their day tended to fall under most people's radar. I only managed to see The Eye of Satan myself many years ago, thanks to Steve Powell, who is an actor in many of these films, and also runs a Jeet Kune Do school just off Piccadilly Gardens in Manchester, who generously sent me a VHS tape with The Eye of Satan and GBH 2 on it. Supposedly, The Eye of Satan did have a UK video release at some point. It was certainly submitted to the BBFC for video classification in 1992, but in all the years I spent collecting VHS, I've never seen a copy of this video release around, nor have I ever heard of any video collector having found a copy of it. So if that release did actually get out there into the UK market, then copies of it are certainly as rare as hen's teeth these days. For what we do know, it was released on VHS in Holland, and also played on a UK cable channel at one point, called HVC, which officially stood for the Home Video Channel, although most people tended to refer to as the Horror and Violence Channel. So Twemlow movies were certainly at home there. Somehow though, it seems rather fitting that films born out of working class determination and blood, sweat and tears require from you a fair deal of leg and detective work to track down these days. The end does justify the means though, and Cliff Twemlow's legacy of films, books and songs are well worth hunting down, and well worth celebrating. Anyway, that's all for now, so all that remains for me to say is good night and God bless.